We start with this overnight news. A SWAT standoff here in Albuquerque around 9 last night. Police rushed out to this home on AmeriCare Court. That's near Ouray and Coors Southwest. Police say they were trying to arrest Adrian Montalvo for violating his probation. They say he didn't come out of the apartment, and because they say he had been involved in fighting with police officers before, officers were called out from the SWAT team. They did eventually get him out and arrest him. On to the other big story of the day. Nehemiah Griego, the teen accused of murdering his family, is still behind bars at the Bernalillo County Juvenile Detention Center this morning.
And as of right now, it doesn't look like he'll be getting out anytime soon because he is being held without bond. And at the same time, just about everyone, including investigators, are wondering why they say he killed his family last weekend.
The motive, as articulated by the suspect, was purely that he was frustrated with his mother.
Investigators now want to know what Nehemiah Griego's girlfriend, who they say is about 12 years old, knew about the killings and when. Now, specifically because they think Nehemiah was with her for hours after they say he killed his dad, his mom, and his younger brother and sisters early Saturday. They also say that Nehemiah thought about killing his girlfriend's parents and shooting up this Walmart store. Sheriff Dan Houston says Nehemiah does not have a history of having any mental health problems. Prosecutors want to basically try him as an adult, but if he is found guilty, a judge could sentence him as a juvenile, which means he would get out of jail when he turns 21. That's if he is found guilty. We also now know that Nehemiah Griego was a big fan of two very violent video games. Sheriff's deputies say they are Call of Duty Modern Warfare. It's a military game where you play a soldier carrying out violent missions, and Grand Theft Auto, where you play characters who steal cars, then go on violent rampages. Psychologists have criticized both games, saying they desensitize people to violence.
Investigators say the father, Greg Griego, was returning home from an overnight shift at the Albuquerque Rescue Mission before he was shot by his son, Nehemiah, around 6 Saturday morning. His co-workers told us they've been constantly thinking about his final hours.
You think about stuff like that. If you had had the schedule different or something, maybe it wouldn't have happened. But you know, it's just sad that it happened.
The assistant director says Greg Griego worked at the shelter from 2002 to 2004 and was rehired there just 3 months ago. A prayer vigil for the Griego family is scheduled to be held at Calvary of Albuquerque, the church where Greg worked as a pastor and where Nehemiah ended up going at the end to reveal that his family was dead. The vigil is scheduled from 7 to 8 p.m. Stay with News 13 on air and online at KRQE.com for full coverage as the story of the Griego murders continues to develop. The guns that sheriff deputies say Nehemiah Griego used to kill his family, we have learned, were not locked up.
In fact, deputies say they were simply inside of his parents' closet, and now there is talk at the Roundhouse about a new law that would make it illegal for parents to not lock up their guns. News 13's David Romero is live at the Bernalillo County Detention Center. It's where Nehemiah is right now. And David, what kind of locks are we talking about here?
Well, Matt, there's something like this. It is a gun lock, and now gun control advocates are saying that if guns were locked up with one of these, maybe there'd be fewer of these types of shootings. That now has Nehemiah Griego here in jail. Now, we wanted to find out more about these gun locks, so I went to Charlie's Sporting Goods in Northeast Albuquerque. It turns out that right now it is a federal law that all stores have to give out locks when they sell guns, but sometimes people don't take them. The locks are supposed to prevent you from pulling the trigger in some instances, and now some companies are even building them into the guns, hoping to make them safer.
If you're going to put a lock on a gun, remember that's not to keep the gun out of the criminal's hands. That's for you to be able to keep a gun safely around your home in case you have children or anyone that shouldn't be around firearms if you don't have a safe.
And that is the other option, to lock them up in a gun safe. Now, they are very solid, state-of-the-art kind of pieces, and a lot of them are fireproof and waterproof. And the range on price on those things, and according to people at Charlie's Sporting Goods, can be from $800 to $4,000. Another way experts say to keep guns safe at home is to keep bullets and clips away from areas that they can be accessible to kids or anybody that shouldn't be around them. Again, all locked up. Matt, back to you.
All right, very important information. Thank you, David. Again, this is just an idea that legislators are talking about up in Santa Fe. The only bill they've officially introduced would make people go through a background check before they buy guns at a gun show. Well, in just a few hours, a jury will be back to decide if the man police call Albuquerque's Arroyo molester is guilty. Prosecutors say Renato Sandoval sexually assaulted an 11-year-old boy in an Arroyo in Albuquerque back in 2003. They say they have DNA evidence to prove this, but Sandoval's lawyers disagree.
The Albuquerque Police Department did a lousy job. They can't explain hundreds of contradictions in their evidence.
There is absolutely no one else on this earth who could have done this. No one. But him. Convicted.
And besides this case, Renato Sandoval is also facing other charges accused of raping young boys.
A couple from Albuquerque accused of having child pornography remains behind bars and now officially faces federal charges. Investigators say last year Fred Gonzalez bought a number of child porn videos on the internet. They say he failed a lie detector test when they asked him if he ever touched kids in a sexual way. Gonzalez used to be the president of Albuquerque Young America Football League at one point. His wife Carrie was a teacher's aide at Montezuma Elementary. Well, both could spend, by the way, 20 years in prison if they are convicted. This afternoon, the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office is scheduled to go worldwide with a new cold case unit. Detectives as well as the victims' survivors will be there to watch. Also, sheriff officials will talk about the creation of a new full-time crisis intervention team to increase positive interaction between citizens and law enforcement.
Walgreens pharmacies here in New Mexico now have new rules to make sure you can get your prescriptions filled when you want them. This is all because of what happened back in June. It's when this woman named Suzanne Kestner called the Walgreens on Central and Eubank to refill her birth control prescription. She says the pharmacist refused because of his religious beliefs and told her she'd have to wait for another day. The ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union, got involved, and now Walgreens says it's going to change things to make sure all prescriptions can get filled every day. All right,